Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Bleacher Report. That was the longest third preseason game of my life, or final preseason game of my life. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. There's not that much to chew on, but there's a few takeaways. For example, Kyle McCord's not good. And if there is something going on with Tanner McKee, then there's not a lot of meat on the bone after Jalen. Now, I don't know how significant Tanner McKee's injury is. I don't know how bad it is. And I don't anticipate many third stringers being solid. But there have been years, like last year, for example, where Kenny Pickett, who a lot of fans hated, I thought he was a backup quarterback. You had him and Tanner McKee. That is so night and day from where you currently stand with Kyle McCord. I'm glad they stopped the whole DTR nonsense because I wanted to throw up last week. And truth be told, I wanted to throw up this week, but I wanted to throw up more last week. Profusely, just nonstop, chunks everywhere. Sorry to paint that picture, but that's the type of product we got from DTR, and a lot of it from McCord, too. He probably should have been picked off 3 times, 4 times. So, not sounding the alarms by any means, but when you think of it as what was one of your takeaways from this action up in MetLife, you have an issue if the Tanner McKee thing is actually seriously problematic, which I have no clue where that injury stands. There's that. Adoree Jackson did not dress. Well, we've been discussing Vic Fangio, CB2, for quite some time, since training camp began. Vic Fangio wasn't afraid to say Cooper DeJean might have to go to the outside, and you may see him in practice go to the outside because, well, by now, someone should have taken it or took it. They should have taken that spot. They should have absolutely owned it and said, move the you-know-what over. This is my territory. This is my job. I'm not giving it up either. And no one has done that. But it looks as if the leader of the crew is Adoree Jackson. It could be by default. It could be because no one's really that strong and he's the strongest of the weakest. Ringo, he broke mentally. That Jamar Chase play, I'll never forget that. Ringo has been sitting in the rooms with Darius Slay for years. He's been with Christian Parker for a bit of time now. He's been watching Quinyon all of last season. You move on from Isaiah Rodgers, Darius Slay, and here is a golden opportunity. There's going to be soft coverage against Jamar Chase because you don't want to get beat over the top. Okay. But the way he looked so fragile, and the way that he looked so not competitive, and we've barely heard his name since, I think I know everything that I need to know out of Ringo. Now, Bennett played, though, and you traded with the Vegas Raiders for Bennett to see what he can do as a starter previously in this league, but he was sliding down the depth chart with Pete Carroll. He had a really good breakup with just a good break on a wide receiver when he was playing in coverage, and I thought that was excellent early in this game against the Jets. But then, against guys that probably have no chance in hell of being anything legitimate in the NFL, he's suffocating in good coverage, which is strong, but they're still getting the catch. Hold on a second. These no-names are making plays where you're there. So you're where you're supposed to be. You're like sticky glue, and you are stuck but they're still getting their hands on the football a couple of different times? Yikes. You need to be better than that. I always thought of the three, Ringo, Jackson, Bennett had the best chance. Maybe the reason why Bennett played today was just because there hasn't been enough time for Vic Fangio to really study, to really see. There's a big difference between what you do in practice and getting practice reps, and then when you're in a real game feel. And maybe that is what Vic Fangio wanted to see. And look, just because someone's playing in the final preseason game, it doesn't mean it's the end-all be-all. I watched Nolan Smith last season when we all counted him out and doubted that he could do something serious. He ended up being a star for you. He ends up now being who we are super pumped up to watch and who can take that next leap after Brandon Graham leaves. That's the way and the tone that we talk about Nolan Smith. He was playing in this game, not because of anything other than he wasn't living up to the standard. So the reason I bring that up is maybe there is a 2025 version of Nolan Smith. Maybe it's Bennett. Maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. Maybe it's Trot. Trot was out there running around. The notable names who did have a uniform on. Trot Jr., who I think is just, first off, always willing to fly around out there and make plays and put on an Eagles uniform so we can see that name and number as much as humanly possible. But he's still got some growing to do, and it makes sense for someone like that to still compete. Mechie, who had a catch early on, and then from there, blah, offensively as a whole. But what are you going to do when the guy throwing the football stinks? I always think about that with Darius Cooper. Well, he looks a lot different with Tanner McKee, doesn't he? And he'd look a hell of a lot different with Jalen Hurts, too. But the problem is you got Stiff McStiff throwing the football. How are any of these wide receivers who are battling for a spot after the Johnny Wilson news came down, how are any of them going to be able to show their worth? It's impossible. Your quarterback stinks. But you have the Anaya Smith and Darius Cooper battle. I can't wait to see what transpires next week with the full-on roster and where they go from here. But another notable name was Ojulari. For Ojulari to be out there, it's telling. And maybe that same position falls right on our lap for another Nolan Smith thing. Because I don't think he's going to be Nolan Smith of last season, but when I was listening to the broadcast with Ross Tucker, it was maybe week 1, maybe week 2 of preseason. I forget which week, but that's not important. And he said he's consistently been around 5 sacks or so, 5.5 sacks. And when you lose a lot of sacks, you need a lot of men to pick up sacks. That's how you make up for it. Of course, it would be lovely to have a Trey Hendrickson, right? 17.5. A TJ Watt, 20-something and a half. But it's going to be a collective unit. It's going to be Jordan Davis adding to his repertoire. It's going to be a Jomo. It'll be Nolan Smith. It'll be Jalix Hunt. It'll be Ojulari. It'll be Uche. It's got to be a combination and a collective group stepping up as one to make up for some of the lost sacks that left in free agency last season. So, of course, 5 doesn't sound crazy or overwhelming when you just say it in a blah type of statement, but it will have an impact when you think of it as an equation. Ojulari plus Jordan Davis plus Jalen Carter plus Jalix Hunt plus Nolan Smith plus whoever else decides to step the hell up. What's that, Brodes? Yes, I'm in love with Emilio cigars because they are the only cigar to smoke. They are the best cigar to ever touch my lips. And if you are a cigar smoker, you must, seriously, I mean this, you must check out Emilio cigars. You can purchase them with the link down below in the description and get 10% off with promo code BRODES10. It is old school roots and some new school attitude, locally owned 3rd generation, made at the Fábrica Oveja Negra in Nicaragua. So when I tell you this is as serious and legit as a cigar as you will find, I mean that. I kick back in my backyard late at night and it puts me in such a good mood. It puts me in such a great mindset. It truly is remarkable. And again, if you're a cigar smoker, this is it right here. I'm telling you. You can also go to your local cigar shop and ask for Emilio Cigars too. That's another way. But check it out and make sure you join the Emilio Cigar family today. Jahad Campbell, not dressed, but he did get a workout in before the game, and so did A.J. Brown. I saw a video that John Clark of NBC Sports Philadelphia put online, and you could see A.J. moving. And then he prefaced the tweet by saying he was told the Eagles were taking this very precautionary, and of course that doesn't surprise anybody, but they're really gearing up to get the strides moving in the right direction leading up to this first game. So essentially from now until that Thursday night game, when you see the banner and Jerry Jones crying on the sidelines, the whole Micah Parsons thing, my God, what a nightmare that is. And sure, there are a lot of us that feel eventually he's just going to get paid a lot of money and they're going to overpay him and they're going to be weird cap hits and it will be structured terribly. And that's just the way it goes. And it probably is still trending in that direction. It still feels a lot different than it did with Dak. And it feels a lot different than it did with CeeDee Lamb, right? It may still follow suit and it still may end up with Micah Parsons being a Cowboy for long term, but this is getting ugly. Ugly. There are ways where you have your battles and you have your conflict, but at the end of the day, there's still respect. I'm starting to wonder if there is a loss of respect involved in this, and then it starts to get real sour real quick, and the fact that that's coming to town for week one is pretty hysterical. When you have to watch a 30-year-old Perry out there getting an interception, you go, what the hell am I doing on a Friday night? Good thing I'm married with 2 kids, 2 young daughters that go to bed early, because if I was a young man still in the streets and I was super young and I had something to do on a Friday night, you'd think I'm consuming this slop. All right, you're lucky as hell that this is my state of life, and I'm very proud and pumped up that this is my state of life. But I'm just saying, this is not fun to watch, okay? It was a drag. Again, I looked up in the second half. I see the third quarter. I see the clock ticking, and I go, how in the world is there still 12 minutes remaining? And don't even get me started on what happened late there. I thought the Jets probably would have had one of those catches late. The 2-point conversion. How dare I bury the lead? What's that dude's name? Gant? 2-point conversion, stopped at the goal line? Gant? Ew. I said, meet me in the middle, damn it. I'm going to push you back 3 yards, and you ain't touching this white line. That was pretty nasty. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty sick. Who else had an interception? Is it Seam? It's funny. I've been getting a call from a specific caller on the local radio here, probably for the last 3 or 4 months. And he keeps saying, watch out for Scene. Watch out for Scene. Scene's going to do something one day. Watch out for Scene. And I'm on tomorrow afternoon. I'm waiting to see if I get that phone call going, yo, Brodes, what have I been telling you? Now, truth be told, it was just a garbage throw, and it was ill-advised, and it was just to nobody, and Scene happened to be there, but he made a hell of a catch. He did reach for it pretty well, to be honest with you. So if you care about anything that actually happened in the game, Montrell Johnson had a couple of nice runs. Jake Elliott hit some field goals, and that is important because last year was sort of a wild roller coaster with him. It ended up ending well, and he's one of those veteran kickers where you need him, you got to have it, and he had it, whether it was snowing or whether it was good weather. Whether you're in a dome, whether you're outside, whether you're in a blizzard, when you needed him, he was there. And that is someone who is very savvy, who's got a lot of faith and confidence in himself, and the team trusts him and always were committed to him and never played that game of we got to figure something else out. Maybe fans did, but internally, that kept riding with their guy, Jake Elliott, and it paid off dividends. So to see him in the early stages here of the season and before the season actually begins to knock down some of these field goals, it's a comfortable feeling because there's a chance we don't have to play the sweated out game. And truth be told, it only takes one missed field goal, especially in week one, for those feelings to return and for those talks and discussions to pop up and get noisy again. But all I can do is react to what I've seen. And what I've seen so far is the Jake Elliott that we are accustomed to see. Mac McWilliams had a fumble recovery. I know that name has been bounced around a tad, and people have brought him up as someone the organization really likes as a prospect feel with a lot of growing to do. But that was one of those plays. And I can't believe I'm going this much into detail on this game. I am a sick individual. And I can't even believe that I remember this much of what went on in this game because this game stunk. But that was one of those plays where the field, everyone on the field thought the play stopped and thought maybe it was not a fumble, but an incomplete pass because the way the quarterback's arm was moving forward. But Mac McWilliams jumped on it, continued to stay with the play, picked it up, got some yards after that, and the coaches are absolutely 1,000% going to note that and highlight that and say, what a wonderful job. The last thing I have here before I get into a hypothetical I want to throw your way is Eli Ricks had that gruesome looking injury really, really late, and he did return. But Eli Ricks is a name that has been dancing around for a bit now, just as depth. And I don't have a lot of confidence in him, but he's one of those names that has been thrown into the fire at times. And he's still here. He's still kicking. And there was a little bit of a weird injury there. Was it, what do they call that when it's friendly fire, maybe? Wasn't it a bit of friendly fire? And I thought it would be worse, but he did end up coming back in. All right, so there's everything that went down on the football field, if you actually care, with some of the outside storylines. The big storylines, A.J. Brown not practicing, Jalen Hurts, Kevin Patullo. And I heard an awesome clip of Nick Sirianni talking to the WIP afternoon show. They did an interview. They pre-recorded it and then played it. And one of the things he brought up was the hunger and desire of Kevin Patullo. This guy's in before Nick. He leaves after Nick. This guy is so focused and determined to make sure that they knock it out of a park as a duo. And that's something that I've stressed for a while now. Once we figured out how they were going to fill the void at OC with Kellen Moore leaving and going to New Orleans, as much as their dream goal, Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni as a duo, is to be looking at one another across the sidelines and both being head coaches, the steps you have to take to get there is to be on the same side one day. And now they have a chance to be on the Philadelphia Eagles, coach this roster with this GM and ownership. And oh, by the way, you are now the gold standard of football. And if you succeed in Philly, there's going to be a lot of eyes on you, and a lot of teams are going to want you, and they're at least going to want to bring you in to have interviews, and you are one step closer. There is a lot of pop that comes with succeeding here, and it just seems like Kevin Patullo understands that, and him and Nick Sirianni as a duo have been waiting for an opportunity like this as well. So outside of just Kevin Patullo knowing what this can mean for his career, it's also these two who have been growing up together on coaching staffs. It's time. This is part of their dream. And now it seems like they're putting in the work, putting in the effort through the early stages here to get everything as right as it can be. And then from there, they adjust on the fly throughout the season, as all teams do, and we'll see how it rocks. But I'm very fascinated to see how Kevin Patullo goes. Sounds very polished. No one's even mentioned anything about anything that he has said throughout the offseason, and the reason why? Because he just seems like he got his head on straight, and he seems like a football guy that understands and who's ready. Right? Now, truth be told, Nick Sirianni doesn't sound like that, and he is. So winning a press conference doesn't necessarily mean anything, with Nick Sirianni being the prime example. He lost that introductory press conference, and look at where he is. Speaking of the hypothetical, though. So with the WIP afternoon show, I thought they had a very fun and interesting topic surrounding the Eagles. This is a little off topic, but since we're ending the preseason, this will be a fun way to tie a bow on the preseason before we start talking real football and real substance and real meaningful conversation. All right. So it's a little lighthearted. It's a little bar room talk, sitting at the campfire, having a couple cold ones, hanging out with your boys. My lawn used to be funny looking. Now it is so damn electric. Thanks to my friends over at Green Lawn Fertilizing. They are based in the Philadelphia area and best in market. Experts in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. They've created their own custom blend that helps your lawn recover. I was an idiot. And I did some DIY projects, and I thought I could handle making sure my lawn looked pretty. And I realized real quick, I need to be educated. So I sat down with the experts, and they really taught me what the process was going to look like, the different treatments that they will do with my lawn, and the timeline in between each treatment, and what they do, and how it's going to look in the transition period. And it's just tremendous to really have the details and information that you're looking for. Today, they actually came and did some more of the treatments, and it's just I can't even explain to you how much they're like a family and not just a lawn care service. They're not only giving you 50% off your first 2 treatments by utilizing the link down below. You heard me correctly. 50% off your first 2 treatments, but also they are now incorporating their aeration. There is 1 free application through Green Lawn Fertilizing and 100 off aeration and seeding as part of their fall recovery program. So do not be a fool. Take advantage of what they have offered for you today. Make sure you check the link out down below. Tell them that Brodes sent you. What a remarkable journey it's been. Would you rather have the Eagles go back-to-back? Or would you rather the Phillies win a World Series this year? And to me, it's so simple. It's back-to-back. For all the clowns and losers and morons nationally, and for some locally, who I love. I do love some of them, but moronic takes out there about Jalen Hurts. He goes back-to-back. He goes back-to-back. And then this franchise, dating back to 2017, would have 3 championships with even more Super Bowl appearances. You know how people view the Steelers, the Niners, the Patriots, the Chiefs now. They're not all fantastic all at the same time, but there's a lot of power to a dynasty. You go back-to-back in the NFL, that opens up doors and opens up legacies, and it's just different. Going back-to-back in any sport, but going back-to-back winning Super Bowl, it's a football town. There's no way I'm passing up an opportunity to relive what we just did last year again. I always think about this when I see teams in the NHL go back-to-back. The Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's just, it almost meshes together where you don't even remember what losing's like. It's just, we're doing it again. There we go, baby. We're doing it again. And I think people are actually skewed because we're in the thick of the back end of a baseball season. Because if you plant yourself into January and you ask yourself the same question, you're going to lean towards football because you're going to be in heavy football mode pursuing a championship. So I don't want the time of the year to influence what selection you choose. And there's really no wrong selection. The other side of it is Bryce Harper. Think about the way Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley and Ryan Howard and Cole Hamels and these guys, when they come back, there is a relationship with this town. And if you can add a core of Bryce and Kyle Schwarber and Zach Wheeler and guys of that nature, if you can add that and have another wave of that, I mean, Bryce winning a championship would be insane. It would be insane for him, for his legacy, for the talk that is about him, just everything. And then hear how much we love him and adore him 50,000 times more than we already do. And Kyle Schwarber as well, and JT, who's been around the whole thing. It would be awesome for this core to do it. But Jalen, back-to-back Jalen. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'm sorry. I'm not even lying to you right now. I have the chills. Probably can't see. But the hair is sticking up on my arms and a shiver went down my back. Thinking about Jalen with another cigar, holding another Super Bowl trophy, holding 2 Super Bowl MVP trophies. Come on, man. Sorry, I can't pass that up. I love Bryce. I love Kyle. It doesn't match the Jalen. It just doesn't match the Jalen. He's got the in front of his name now, apparently. I don't even know what I'm saying, but can't match the Jalen. So I know my answer. How he becomes a Hall of Famer, even though he already is, but it just inserts him into a different tier almost. And dude, come on, man. You can't pass up that level of dominance. It's not about spreading the love throughout the city. It's about making one of these teams something that you could only ever dream of. Patriots fans are going to want that Tom Brady era back every single day they wake up for the rest of their lives. Because it's so magical when you have it. It's so rare. It's so different. It's so special. It's so not normal. If we have an opportunity to have the not normal, I got to take it. There's more power to that than there is placing championships throughout the city with different teams. And it's the Birds. What are we doing here? How dare we vote Phillies? We can't. We can't. All right, listen, that's going to do it. A little fun, a little goofy off to the side here to end the show, but I thought it was an interesting one and a pretty fun one. So thank you guys all so much for hanging out with me. I greatly appreciate it. Next time we speak in live stream form, I believe at that point it'll be real deal football. So pretty excited. Thank you guys all so much, and I will catch you all on the next one. Go Birds.